Welcome to the Talkin Smash podcast. I'm Matt Hetherington here with Brazilian legend Thiago Monteiro, an Olympian, 4-time gold medalist at the Pan American Games. Thiago, you were just coaching the Pan Am Cup in Texas, so it's great to have you here and to bring you over to Washington, D.C. I don't know when the last time you were here was.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here talking to you. It's been a while that I don't come to the office to DC.
Yeah.
And it was like great opportunity because I was not so far. And it's always good to meet the people who do a lot of work for you in the backstage.
I'm sure there's a lot more people now.
Yeah.
You've met everybody than there was the first time you came.
Yeah, well, it's nice to meet all these people and understand better how the company works, because sometimes as athletes we have a point of view of players and we don't realize how hard it is for the people who work really in the everyday basis for the company, how hard it is to make it work. So we understand. I understand much better now.
Cool. So this podcast, I wanted to talk a little bit more about your professional journey going from Brazil. You've been in France for a long time now, but I want to start at the beginning. So I wanted to get an idea of what it was like for you in your very early years playing table tennis in Brazil. At that time, I don't think you had so many influences from stronger players to move out of Brazil. Aside from those early years, what it was that helped you make a decision when there was not really anyone to follow to move?
Well, actually, I started to play table tennis with my dad. So it was the first big influence. I was just, his son wanted to be with my dad and to make him proud. So he was playing table tennis, coaching a little bit. So I just wanted to be around him and make him proud of me. And he was born athlete, so he used to play football, soccer, as you say here in America. And I played both sports, so I always wanted to be around him and make him proud of me. And went all from there. It was all very natural for me. I started to go to the club with him and play, and the results were there. I didn't have a lot of influence from like top players because I come from a part of Brazil where table tennis is not so developed. But I was lucky enough to have some good players in my city and that I could look up to. And I like to say that a big part of my improvement as a player was because I grew up in a very good context. There were very good players in my age where their parents play too, and they help their son. So I have a good rivalry. So I had kids in my age that were good, and I had some like junior or senior players that played well for our region. So it was a first step that I could look up to, and then it all go after that.
So when you actually decided to leave Brazil, did you initially say when you left? Because I think like Oyama was playing in Europe a little bit, but he didn't live there, right?
Yeah, well, he played in Europe, but in some specific moments of his career, he played in Belgium for a few years and then Sweden, but was not like in a very consistent basis. He was going to Brazil sometimes, coming back, and who was the...
So at that time, then there was no Brazilian player that had like left Brazil and was like, okay, I'm going to go and live overseas.
Yeah, no, at that time, no. I was there was in the past, but like I said, it was just for one season experience, and then they came back.
So when you went to Europe in the beginning, and you went to Sweden first?
Yeah, Sweden, 1999.
When you went there, was your plan to move completely, or were you just at the time thinking, okay, I'm going to do the same thing, maybe I play 1 season, 2 season, or were you like, if I want to play table tennis, I have to move? Like,
yeah, well, that was kind of plan that me and my coaches at the time had. I was lucky enough. Well, first step was moving from my hometown, Fortaleza in Brazil, to Piracicaba near São Paulo. I was 15 years old, so I moved there. It was the first big step for me because at the time, at 14, 15, I was already among the best seniors in my region, so I had to take this next step. And then I wanted to finish my high school. And then before going to university, you know, my mother is a professor at university. The studies were a big deal for me and my brother at home. So for us to be able to play sports, you had to be good in school. Right. It was really good for us too. Then I moved to Sweden in '99. I was 18 years old, to Eslöv. So it was a good opportunity for me, and I knew it was like the first step when I moved from my hometown to the south of Brazil. I knew that was the next step, and I wanted to stay very long because I thought that living in Europe, I would be able to practice with better players, play leagues, and would be closer to most of the tournaments in Europe.
Yeah. And when you did move to Europe, and when you did go to Sweden, obviously you said you went to Eslöv first in Sweden. How long were you in Sweden for? And like, how were the first years for you? Like, obviously, like to go from Brazil to Europe to a place like Sweden is like different worlds for you then.
Totally different.
So how was it for you? You know, what kind of challenges were there? Did you ever think in those beginning years, okay, like, did you ever feel any kind of doubt or like any kind of thinking like maybe this is not the best idea? Or
no, I never had any kind of doubt, and of course I missed a lot Brazil. My parents at the time, I was young. I was only 18 years old. This is another thing I wanted to be major before I could go live in another country. I was really focused on the opportunities much more than what I was missing. Okay. Of course, I miss my family, I miss my country.
Yeah,
but
you know why you're doing it.
Yeah, the why was very clear for me. And when it's like that, as much as you miss home, and as much as it's a really big difference in culture between Brazil and Sweden, the weather, everything's different. But at the same time, I was like living childhood dream. I was playing in a country that is one of the big countries for table tennis. If you put back in the context, I went there in '99 to 2000,
which they won.
Sweden was, it still is, but at the time, like the legendary players from Sweden that I grew up watching were still active players, and
because they won 2000, right? They won the last time as well.
Yeah. So I in some tournaments inside Sweden, I could see them playing, and it was a fantastic experience. So I was really focused on I was living my dream, actually. So as difficult as it was, I always felt lucky that I could be doing that, because many other players would dream to be in my place.
Right.
And I was the downside of it, if you put it that way, was too small when I thought of the opportunity and the opportunity I had to be living in Sweden at that time.
I guess also, I imagine, especially from Brazil, the first winter that you were in Sweden must have been a big shock for you.
Well, it's different. I didn't even have the right clothing for this, and because Brazil can be cold sometimes in winter in the south of Brazil. Not in my region, it's never cold. But you go and then you just adapt and you find solutions. But it was a different. Everything was different. But as you said, the reason, the why was very, very clear for me.
So after being in Sweden for a little while, you ended up moving to France.
Yeah.
And you've been there for. Or did you go somewhere else first?
No. I played 2 seasons in Sweden. 2 seasons. first in Eslov, and then it was at the time Eslov was in Elite Serie. It's the highest division in Sweden, and I thought my level would be more would be better for me technically speaking if I could play more matches in the one division below.
Okay.
Then I moved to Maria Dals in a city called Borås near Gothenburg, which was they were great to me and good friends, and it was a fantastic experience too. And then after that I moved to France in 2001. I was 20 years old. It happened because after this season I played well in Osaka, the World Championships in 2001. I was 19 to 20 years old at the time, 19, and had a huge improvement in my world ranking. After I arrived there as like 298 in the world ranking, and I ended up the competition 173.
Nice.
And at the time I played teams and singles, doubles, mixed doubles.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
I had some good wins against some top 100 in teams, and in singles, after passing the qualification, I beat which is a good friend of mine, Christophe Lebou from France, that was 14 in the world at that time. It was a huge surprise in the competition. So it opened the door for me in France, and it was a good opportunity too to play in French highest level at the time. And another reason that is important is that I would have working contract, and I would have with this contract all the visa issues solved. That is something that I wanted clear, and with the eventually salary of my working contract, I could go to the Pro Tour, because at that time we didn't have much help from the federation and sponsors. So it was the decision I made. Yeah.
Okay. So usually halfway through these podcasts, I try and break something up with something a little more fun. I know you were looking at these earlier, but so I've called this one Around the World. So you have to pick which country, because you've traveled a lot with table tennis, you have to pick which country you would move to if you were focused on each area. So the first one is like scenery and like outdoor views.
Okay, but then I will choose Brazil. Can I choose Brazil, or should be another one?
You can choose wherever you want.
Yeah, well,
technically you would be moving there, because now you don't live there anymore.
I don't live there anymore. I'm very attached to Brazil, and my like dream lifestyle would be living near the beach and where is sun.
Is there a specific place in Brazil that you like?
Yeah, my hometown Fortaleza, because it's by the beach. Winter time it's like 20 degrees Celsius, which is warm. It goes from 20 to 36.
Not bad.
My parents live like 20 minutes from the beach. There's a family, there is everything that I like. So it's not very original, because I'm from Brazil, to say to choose Brazil, but I would. I have to say also Portugal. I think I could adapt very fast. I played there for a season in Sporting, and I loved it. So the food is good, and
that might come up in the next one. So the next one is the food and the dining experience.
Food and dining experience. This said food and dining experience, I would say Italy. I was for half season. I played some league matches for Castel Goffredo in Italy not so long ago, and Italy. Because I mean, you eat well almost everywhere if you go to good restaurants.
You go to the best places,
But in your everyday life, I think the Italian food is much better than average. And I'm not saying about Brazil because, it's my home country. And then I will always choose Brazil in this kind of situation. But if you take away Brazil, Italy would be my choice.
The next one is like just relaxing and like summertime activities. Now,
summertime activities where like by the beach, where I could go surfing a little bit. I'm very bad on it, but I love it. And
You have to go to New Zealand.
New Zealand, Australia.
Actually, you asked me this the other day, which is Australia or New Zealand the surfing.
Yeah,
so if you might get a shark attack in Australia.
Attack, yeah. But I mean, I see a picture of sharks in the. I'm scared. So imagine that I go surfing in Australia, I think it would even be fun because I would be so scared. So
and maybe it would help you stay on the surfbord.
Yeah,
you don't want to fall in the water.
Exactly, yeah. And at my level, it's not that good, so I would fall many times. So.
Were you usually doing that like when you're at home, like in Brazil, or is this something you do? Like...
Okay, I did in Portugal. Every once in a while when I was there for a longer time, I would go and I would rent a board, and then I did it. So I liked it so much because all the activities that I like doing, I could do it there too. And in France, I did in Hossegor, Lacanau, this part of France. The waves are good. I was on vacation. Yeah, but during the season, I avoid because you can always get injured, especially if your level is not that good. So, yeah.
Okay, the next one is the opposite end. It's the nicest winter location.
From the ones I've been, I would say somewhere near the Alps in France, French side of the Alps, because some occasion I get the chance to go there with some friends for some professional activity.
Did you do skiing or no?
No, because it was like almost the end of the winter season.
Okay.
So the skiing was not at the time. Not possible at the time, but we did some other hiking and this walking on snow, and it was still fun. But it was for a professional reason, so it was not this mindset of enjoying.
Like vacation.
But
the last one is either sporting events or your favorite activities. I feel like football is probably gonna come up. So which country would you go if you wanted to be like just a sporting fanatic? Or?
A sporting fanatic? Not original again. I like football. Brazil is the country for this. This said, Argentina, I would say they are more fanatic than Brazil about football, almost more. So, eventually.
Is it safe to be a Brazil fan in Argentina?
Well,
for football?
Well, if it's a match Brazil-Argentina, there is always some risk, I would say. But generally speaking, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, I truly believe that these kinds of things, it depends much more on you. I mean, if you behave well and if you treat people with respect, they are going to treat you well too. Right. It depends a lot on your behavior. So I'm not really scared of these things.
Perfect. All right, moving back onto the semi-serious part. So you've been in France now for 20 years?
Yeah, a little bit more.
More than 20 years? So you said it was 1999 that you left Brazil?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 25 years almost, coming up in 25 years. If you look back, do you think that what you did by leaving Brazil and actually moving overseas for your table tennis, do you think that has made a really, really big difference for like the future players from Brazil that came after you, like Vitor and Eric? They're both playing in France now, and Vitor's living in Germany, and even Teodoro now he's living in Germany also. Do you really feel, do you think about that a lot? I mean, not to like pat yourself on the back as too much, but like as in terms of like as an athlete, you want to have, I guess, some kind of legacy for like future generations. Okay. Do you feel like this made a big impact for Brazil?
Listen, I don't think about it that much, but
until now.
But the thing is that because I'm a little bit older now, and the other players see me like kind of old brother, let's say, older brother, and they come to me with this kind of comments. So me myself, I don't really think about it or realize until people come and tell me. So thinking about it now, I would say because some other players from Brazil and from Latin America, and even they came to Europe and stayed a little while, and they came back. And the fact that I stayed like
for your whole career,
all my professional career in Europe, that might have helped, because they saw me eventually as an inspiration or an example, in a way that okay, he's there, he's playing well, he stayed, we can adapt to, and we'll try. And something I can eventually be proud of is that at that time the image of players from Latin America was that we had the talent, we had some good skills, we are good players, but the part of discipline and professionalism was not always the case. And the fact that I stayed long and that I had a good attitude towards my clubs, and okay, of course you make mistakes, but never in purpose. Of course you do some wrong things, but always trying to do the right things. It's normal when you are human, young, alone, you make those mistakes. But I would say that the discipline and professionalism help that today many Latin American players, people from Europe see differently. The Latin American players I might have something to do with it, and makes me a little proud, but it's more for the people to say, no, it's not so, doesn't sound so so good if you say it yourself. So, but I hear these comments from the players themselves, so it's nice to hear.
And what advice would you give from all your experience? What advice would you give to players from Latin and South America that are, you know, in the stages that you might have been at before you moved overseas?
Okay, I don't know one advice exactly, like one. It could be something, never stop learning, looking for good examples, to be surrounded by good people. I think it's very important. If you are in an environment that lifts you up, with players that have goals, are focused, have discipline, because sometimes you go, when you are in an environment where people are not so serious, it's very easy, if you are alone, you are sad, missing home, to go in a way where table tennis is not the focus anymore. Never stop learning. See some good examples of nice and good people, professional people. It's important. I would say the training part is the same, to be in an environment where the level of the players is good enough to bring you up. And if you want to be more precise about the training part, I would say to arrive in Europe with good basis, it helps a lot. Like if you have the good fundamentals of the game. The thing is that I see nowadays, and many young athletes come to Europe, is that they don't know how to practice well. They are good players, but they don't know how to practice well when it comes to blocking or doing the exercises properly, and etc. And for me, it helped a lot, and my coaches in Brazil did a good job preparing me, teaching me how to practice. And even if I was in a group at the time that were much better players than me, I was still allowed to practice with them, because I could practice. My training level was good, my intensity was good, focus was good. So it helped me I was in contact with good players, and even good players asked to practice with me. So it helps a great deal.
I think actually some players, since I moved here to the US, some players were like, oh, you know, I want to go and practice overseas. Because it's going to help me, like my game is going to go really up. But they don't realize that, you know, a lot of them are not really doing physical training. Or, you know, they're doing some lessons with a coach each week and then some organized practice, but they don't organize their own training with other players outside of it. Or, you know, they don't do too much multi-ball all of these different things. And I always say to them, if you're not getting the absolute most that you can out of the environment you're in now, then it's a waste of time. Maybe not a waste of time, but it doesn't make sense for you to go overseas.
Yeah, it's not a waste of time, but you will not enjoy it. You won't get everything you can get.
Right, yeah. You won't get 100% out of going overseas.
I still feel it nowadays, and that's one of the reasons why I had access to practice with many good players in the best clubs. Every time I asked, for example, during all my professional career, that I contact some good clubs in Europe, in Asia. For example, I asked to, one time I remember before the Olympic Games of 2008 in Beijing, I asked to practice with the Korean national team. I mean, if you cannot practice, if you don't know how to practice, if you don't have discipline, you don't have a good behavior,
no way.
It's really impossible to, and they were really open for me, because they knew I had a good level. Helped that I had beaten some of their players, but still you can be good in match situation, but you can be a bad practice partner. We've seen this example many times. So I would say that, if you have a good fundamentals, you know how to practice, it will open many doors for you. That's something that came to my mind now.
Good advice.
I think it's advice would make a big difference, because now I'm starting slowly my transition. I still play, but I'm coaching a little bit. And when I think about the players that I might need to help, you cannot always send them to places where you know that technically it's going to be better, but they won't be allowed, or they will be like, it's also bad for me, because they want
your name.
Yeah. So that's something that I think is important.
And obviously last year, basically for the whole year, you had some problems with your elbow, with the tendons. How's all that going now? I know you did tried everything, some acupuncture and physical therapy and massage. How's that all going, and what's your next move for table tennis? Because I know that you want to continue playing. And
well, this is I was talking with the boss Claudia this morning about it. One of the bosses, I call her boss, but I struggled a lot last year with injuries, and I've been doing everything I can. I had a surgery, I'd say 4 months ago, so I had like 3 months that I did nothing. I started practicing like 1 month ago only. It's getting better, but still it's not, I mean, you don't stop to play for 13 months and just come you are in shape and like it was before, so it takes some time. I thought that at this stage now that you are talking, I would be really good physically and not in so good technical shape, but I realize it's the opposite. I feel that I could play in a very decent level right away, maybe tomorrow, but I still struggle with the pain. I mean, it's not that I have pain like before, but some days are more difficult than others. So I can go tomorrow and do a proper training session that I don't think about the pain, and I play hard and don't even think about it. And someday, like 2 days later, I feel some pain. I would say that for me now, the next 6 months, like until June, are very important, because if I can manage the physical situation, I have no doubt that I can play in a good level for some years more, 5 to 10 if I want to, if I have the patience, because I'm someone that like to be in good physical shape. So I like to do exercise, and it's not a problem, not an effort to me. And now there's some other opportunities, because I started coaching a little bit, and before that people eventually they thought of me to coach, but they knew I wanted to play, so they didn't even offer me.
They never asked or offered.
And they didn't even ask. So now I have a job until to coach in my club in France for Ecuador in national team.
Yeah, of course.
And now these 3 tournaments I did just now, like Qatar Open, FIDE in Corpus Christi, and the Pan Am Cup, people start to see that I can also do that, and then there are more opportunities that are opening for me.
Yeah.
So I would say the next 6 months will be very, very important. If I'm physically healthy, I would like to play a little more, and then let's see what opportunities are coming on my way. I think I would be a transition where I will play a little bit and coach a little bit until I maybe eventually change to the coaching part, or eventually to do something else. But in table tennis, I would love to stay in table tennis.
Perfect. Well, Thiago, thanks for sharing. This is for me, this is why I like doing this podcast. I mean, we talk quite a lot, but I don't have we're talking about some equipment or some things with JOOLA or some things with table tennis events, but I don't always get the chance to kind of take a deep dive and go all the way back into it. But I love this kind of stuff. Even when I was in New Zealand, when I started out, and I interviewed you a long time ago now, I can't remember how long ago, but when I had my blog, I was always trying to find players to interview. And later on, I guess after I was training in some different places, and I would sit with Peter Corbell and Jorgen Persson, and I just love hearing the old table tennis stories. Yeah, I love the history, but people's stories about it is great.
It's also fun for me too, because as you asked, and there are some situations that you don't even think about, and when the questions come up, you say, really, I never thought about this that way, at least. But it's good also for me when I talk about my career, because it reminds me what motivates me since the beginning, the commitment I made with myself.
Right.
And if you're so many years doing the same things, and sometimes you go into automatic, and it's good to remember the reasons. After this kind of interviews and podcasts and talks, you may think it doesn't, but it does give you a boost of motivation. So you remind yourself in these early days when you had no perspective of being this good, and then you still believe in yourself. So it's a pleasure.
Thanks, Thiago. I'm glad I could bring something to the table here. All right. We'll definitely have another podcast with you. But thanks for this for now.
Thank you. My pleasure.